Maize is a crucial staple crop, remaining the most important food crop in the world, with over 150 varieties used for different purposes. Have you ever wondered about its origin? How did people first discover maize, or how was it domesticated? The history of maize, or corn domestication, has been a topic of debate within archaeology. Welcome to Anthromedia. In this video, we will trace the history of corn domestication. Before we proceed, don't forget to subscribe. The ancestor of corn, called Zea mexicana, originated in Mesoamerica as teosinte. The transformation from wild teosinte to primitive corn likely occurred between 13,000 and 6,000 BC due to a mutation in the teosinte gene. This mutation made the fruit cases softer, leading to the development of domesticated maize. Differences between teosinte and maize include long branches with tassels in teosinte and short branches with ears in maize. The gene TB1 controls this distinction, and changes in its regulatory regions played a role in the transition. A commonly accepted hypothetical scenario for maize domestication suggests it might have started unintentionally during the gathering of wild teosinte. Selective pressure for harvestable types of teosinte with shrunken spikes or bunches may have led to their establishment near campsites. Humans, over time, would have started deliberately planting the more useful types and removing weeds, gradually domesticating corn. The crucial stage in domestication was when people began selectively harvesting and planting transitional forms of teosinte, changing its reproductive strategy to depend on human intervention. The transformation of teosinte into corn is believed to have taken many centuries and likely occurred in southwestern Mexico, specifically in the deciduous forests of the Balsas Valley region. The domestication process involved selecting seeds with preferred traits and rejecting less desirable ones. Some researchers think maize might have originally come from tropical lowlands where there weren't many wild plant foods. Early on, maize would have been a better source of calories than the plants in the wild forests. Human populations settled around numerous lakes in the central Balsas Valley after the Ice Age during warmer and humid conditions. By about 6000 BC, people were cultivating maize and squash in this region. By 5600 BC, maize had spread into southern Central America, and by 5000 to 4000 BC, it was found in Colombian valleys further south. The Gila Nequitz cave in Oaxaca provided a date of 4250 BC for maize, and there is indirect evidence of even earlier maize cultivation before 5000 BC. In southern Mexico, the Tehuacan Valley is like a history book about how people first started growing corn in dry environments. Initially, people in this region relied on hunting and collecting wild foods, but as the game population declined around 8000 BC, they shifted to a more intensive gathering of wild plant foods. By at least 4500 BC, the majority of the diet consisted of tropical grasses, cacti, and maguey. This shift likely prompted some form of cultivation or domestication of native plants, marking a crucial step in the development of maize agriculture. After 2500 BC, there was an increase in crop yields in Mesoamerica. People started growing foods like beans, amaranth, gourds, and maize that could be stored to endure lean months. They lived in larger, more permanent settlements and used well-made grindstones to process their smaller maize, which resembled teosinte. These sedentary villages replaced earlier nomadic patterns. The communities had ample storage, enabling them to survive through periods of scarcity. Similar cultural developments were observed in dry caves across northern Mesoamerica. Highland lakes in the Valley of Mexico and elsewhere likely supported settled communities experimenting with crops like amaranth. In the Tehuacan Valley, they found a ton of old corn pieces. More than 24,000, these pieces show how corn changed over time. The earliest ones were really small and couldn't spread their seeds naturally, indicating domestication around 2200 to 2600 BC. By 2000 BC, people all over were starting to rely at least a bit on growing their own food. 1,000 years later, in the Mexican lowlands, we see the first signs of organized societies. The Columbian exchange refers to the exchange of disease, food, ideas, and people between the Americas and Europe, Africa, and Asia in the 15th and 16th centuries. Maize, along with other vital crops like potatoes, sweet potatoes, and cassava, was introduced to Europe during this period. Maize was already cultivated in the Americas from Canada to Chile, but its widespread introduction to the Old World occurred after Columbus's voyages. Maize became a significant crop in Europe, including the UK, where its cultivation has increased significantly since the 1970s, serving various purposes such as livestock feed, game cover, and energy crops for anaerobic digesters.